Hello beautiful yogi, welcome to this Ashtanga Yoga tutorial where we are going to cover the Surya Namaskar A and Surya Namaskar B sequences from the Ashtanga Yoga Primary Series. We'll start with a slow tutorial moving through them where I can give you pointers around alignment and also a few options and variations you can take for transitions, and then we'll go through some faster rounds together, 3 of Sun Salutation A and 2 of Sun Salutation B. It should get the body really nice and warm, so you could go from this video to an extended yoga practice if you would like. Or you can use this just to teach yourself about these 2 sequences so that you can use them in your life whenever you're needing that little energy shift or boost, or maybe first thing in the morning when you wake up. All right, let's get started. So, our first position that we find is Tadasana, or mountain pose, pressing the toes together, separating the heels slightly and grounding down through the feet. In Tadasana, mountain pose, we want to find a state of being called Samastiti, which is where there is balanced stillness. So check whether you have balanced your footing and press into the right and the left foot evenly. Tuck the tailbone under slightly to draw your pelvis into alignment. Relax the shoulders down away from the ears and just gently draw the shoulder blades back towards one another. You can choose with your hands when we come to this position if you'd like to press the palms or if you'd like to have the hands by your side. And we come to Samastiti after each round of our Sun Salutation. It's a time to connect again to this sense of balanced stillness and to find focus here. So initially, before we begin, let's focus on our breath, drawing the breath in to the belly, feeling it expand, feeling the lungs fill with air, and then the breath arrive in your upper chest. And as you let the breath go through your nose, constrict the back of your throat slightly so that you hear the sound of an ocean wave forming our Ujjayi breath. Another way to connect to the Ujjayi breath might be to try and say ha really loudly without opening your mouth as you let your breath go. Then on your next inhale, we'll find upward salute, lifting the arms, lifting the gaze. Press your palms and direct your gaze to your thumbs. Draw your arms backwards so that you're looking to frame your ears with your biceps. Here, focus on upward energy, a long spine, softness in the kneecaps, length through the back of the neck. One more inhale here, and then on the exhale, separate the palms, float the arms downward and fold forward. So hinging at the hips, bending at the knees so that you can allow your belly to rest on the top of your thighs. And a few pointers here. See if you can extend the heart further forward. So draw the lower belly in and then try and shimmy your upper body further down on the lower body without losing contact between your belly and the top of your thighs. Tuck the chin in towards the chest so that you can release and lengthen through the back of your neck. And then if you'd like to deepen the hamstring stretch, use that pressure, that contact between your belly and the top of your thighs to further elevate your sit bones up towards the sky. The Sanskrit name for this pose literally meaning intense stretch. So we're feeling the release, the stretch through the lower back and through the legs. Ignore me, I'm just picking fluff off of my tights. That's not particularly yogi of me, is it? And then on the next inhale breath, let's find halfway lift. Choices here. You can bring your palms to press in the front of your shins as you lengthen your legs, lengthen your arms, shift your gaze forward to the tip of your nose. or you might need to take your palms a little higher and press them into the thighs so that you can still keep that flatness in your lower back. Or you might have the range to bring yourself to your fingertips and achieve that flat spine. So have a play, see what feels best, and then think about driving the tailbone away from the collarbones. So here we're really lengthening. Keep a slight bend in your knees though, so we're not locking out the knee joints. And because we've now got this beautiful flat back position, this will form the basis of our next pose, low plank or Chaturanga Dandasana. I will show a few variations now for how we can arrive there. So they all involve softening the knees a little more and planting the palms so that the wrists will stack underneath the shoulders, and set your foundation through your hands. So index fingers point forward and really press the palms into the mat. Option 1 is to step your feet behind you one at a time, and this is where we separate the feet so that they're now hip distance apart and we arrive in our high plank. You can, if you need to in high plank, just immediately drop to the knees and then from here lower down to the mat. The other option to come back to high plank is to practice a floating backward. So to float backward, we want to trust the strength of our upper body in our hands, send our body weight there, and then lift up through the lower body and send the legs back. If we're lowering down from a high plank, we'll bring the hips forward so that we're right on the tippy toes. And notice when you make that shift, how the palms draw more into line with the chest than underneath the shoulders. From here, we lower to the mat in Chaturanga. So your knees might be down, in which case you come from here with the hips forward and the elbows graze your sides as you come to the earth. If you're coming from plank, try and lower really slowly for this first one as we learn it. So with control, feel the elbows graze your sides and your triceps should be facing behind you. Elbows point upward, hover, keep the core tight, and then you can release and lower down. From here, I'll show you 3 variations for your back bend that is part of this sequence. So the palms press into the mat either side of the chest, and then on an inhale, you lift your chest. Elbows still point backwards, squeeze the shoulder blades together, relax the shoulders down away from the ears. So this is option 1 here at low cobra. Option 2 is to press higher up, lengthen the arms. Still keep the fingers spread, relax the shoulders down away from the ears, and push the heart through, lifting your gaze. Option 3 is to take an upward dog. So now the tops of the feet are pressed down into the mat, but everything else is lifting. And then on the next exhale, we'll come to downward dog. So maybe you're down here in your low cobra, in which case tuck the toes under, pike through the hips and arrive in downward dog. Or if you were there in your upward dog, pike the hips and come straight to downward dog from there. Some people can roll over their toes really softly and you'll see that happen. It's really down to the individual's body and how comfortably you can perform that rolling action. So don't think that that's something that you need to aspire to because it has a lot to do with the length of your arms and the length of your legs, things which you have no control over. Okay, from here, we're grounding our heels as far down as we can behind us, staying soft through our kneecaps, even a slight bend in the knees if you prefer, elevating your hips towards the sky, making those hips the beautiful peak of this triangular posture, driving the heart back towards the legs, relaxing the shoulders down away from the ears, broadening across the front of the body, across your collarbones, by creating an external rotation through the scapula, the shoulder blades. So I like to think about trying to show off my biceps to somebody behind me to create that action, that spiraling through the arms. And each time we arrive in Adho Mukha or downward dog, We want to take 5 deep restorative breaths into the belly, in through the nose, out through the nose, maybe returning to your Ujjayi or victorious breath if that's something that you'd lost. And after the 5 rounds of breath, we look forward between the hands, and again you have choices. We'll come forward to our halfway lift position. So choice number 1 is just to step the feet forward. Remember to bring them back together and then lift up, rise up into your variation of halfway lift. Same as before, there is a floating option, but this time we're coming from the back of the mat to the front with the feet. So to practice or perform this floating action, we want to transfer the bulk of our body weight into our hips and trust that our hips can be caught by the strength in our arms before landing our feet between our hands. Now, I will try and show my best version of this, but I'm still learning and practicing myself. So first we'll bring the body weight right up onto the tippy toes so that we can feel how the hips are piking forward. Then a little spring to jump the hips. Oh, that was a terrible one. That's okay. Bring the feet forward between the hands. So the goal is to do what I just haven't done, and that's to land really softly between the hands. Anytime I'm trying to show it to someone, without a doubt it won't happen. But that's the beauty of Ashtanga. We're learning through repetition. So we will do more of these. So also with that inhale breath, we want to come up to our fingertips. So either fingertips here, or we're pressing those palms into shins or to upper thigh. After the halfway lift, on your next exhale, we'll bend again at the knees and let that belly melt into the top of the thighs. Chin tucking in towards the chest. And then finishing as we began. So an inhale, drawing the vertebrae into alignment, arms lift, gaze lifts to your upward salute. Send the energy to the sky, and then exhale back to your version of Samastiti. We're finding balanced stillness and focus here, focused attention. So that was Surya Namaskar A. Moving on to Surya Namaskar B, a very heating sequence. We begin differently to Surya Namaskar A, starting in a pose called Utkatasana or chair pose. I like to access this pose by sinking down through the hips, just watching carefully that my knees don't extend beyond my toes, and then trailing my fingertips along the mat before I lift the arms to the sky. Option, you don't have to do it, but I think it feels quite nice, and it's the same way we come back to this pose at the end of the sequence. Let's tuck the tailbone under, activate through the pelvic floor, and then really press towards the center line with your legs and with your arms. Option even to press the palms here and to gaze to the thumbs. My upper body doesn't like that, but you can choose and see if it feels good for you. We do gaze upward. And if the palms aren't pressed, think here though about activating through the shoulders and arms by imagining that there's a beach ball maybe between your hands or a magnetic field. One more inhale here, weight is in our heels. And then exhale, Uttanasana forward fold, belly comes to find that contact with the thighs. And it should feel really good after the strength work in the quadriceps there. Remember to tuck the chin neatly in towards the chest and try and elevate those hips to the ceiling. Next inhale, let's find that halfway lift again. Length through the legs, drive the heart through. So there's a baby back bend happening here. Gaze is shifted to the tip of the nose. And then exhale, plant the palms. You can step or you can float the feet behind you. Remember to separate them through the tippy toes, lower down to low plank. Inhale, find your preferred back bend. Draw the shoulder blades back, so broadening the collarbones. Exhale, tuck the toes, pike the hips. Find your downward dog. There's a tricky transition here as we step our right foot forward between the hands and lift our arms into a warrior one pose. So we'll move through this really slowly. When we do this at a faster pace, it's simply exhale, breath, downward dog, inhale, breath, warrior one. so it's quite quick. We'll break that down more slowly this round. So inhale, lift the right foot behind you and flex that foot. Don't need to lift it very far, but then we'll bend that right knee on the exhale and draw the right knee towards the nose. Now see how my knee is quite close to the mat right now. I want to create as much distance as I can between my knee and the mat. So first I pike my knee up higher and towards the chest. Then I pike my hips up higher towards the sky. Using the ball even of my left foot to create more space. Really pushing the mat away with my palms. Then from there, on an inhale, flicking that foot forward between the hands. Now this can take a long time to get, and it might be something that you never fully get, and that's fine. We can all end up in the same position. So if your foot landed here, physically pick it up and place it forward, checking that the right knee is stacked over that right ankle. Now we swivel on the ball of the left foot to create about a 45-degree angle. Ground down through the outer edge of that foot. So we strengthen our inner thigh on that left leg. Check that the heels are either in alignment or the right foot can heel toe a little out to the right hand side, depending on how your hips are set and how it feels. Then on an inhale breath again, lift your arms, lift your gaze. Let's do a few checks here for form before we start cycling through this pose more quickly. So the right knee shifting forward to stack over the right ankle. As you become more advanced, you might be able to send that right thigh so that it is parallel to the mat. And then checking that the hips are pointing forward. So I like to take my hands sometimes to my hips and just check that that's where they're set. Don't forget that we're not softening and relaxing through the inner thigh on the left leg. We're keeping it strong and pushing down through that outer edge. Now try and hug both legs in towards the midline of the mat. Relax the shoulders down away from the ears, and then we create our lift. Now you can choose if you'd like to press your palms again and look to the thumbs, or if you'd like the arms separated. Now notice when you lift your arms, do you lose your bend in your front knee? Common. Just reset it. Notice if you've stayed here for a bit and started to fatigue, if your left hip is spiraling open, and draw it back around so that your hips are both pointing forward. One more big breath in, and then exhale. Send the palms down to frame that front foot, and we'll come back to low plank position. So the right foot steps back out to meet the left, and then we lower down to the mat. You can use your knees if you like, and then arrive in your back bend on your inhale. Exhale, tuck the toes, pike the hips, back to downward dog, and we switch sides. So left leg leading, just lift it gently from the mat, and then bend that left knee in towards the nose. Remember, we want to create space now. So first lift the knee as high as you can, then lift the hips as high as you can. And then we take that left foot forward between the hands, or you're picking it up and placing it there. Check that the hips are coming forward, left knee is stacking over that left ankle. And then we swivel on the ball of the right foot, create that 45-degree angle, strengthen, firm up through the inner thigh on that right leg. Check that the hips are pointing towards the short front edge of the mat. And then with a strong foundation, lift the arms, lift the gaze. So create our little checks again on this side. And notice any differences between the sides. Sometimes it can feel a little more natural on one side and not so much on the other. Maybe you need to shorten your stance on one side or to send your feet a little wider. And that's the reason we move slowly this round, so that you can learn, hey, what's the best foot placement for me for Warrior One each leg? And then you can come to it with that awareness when we move through faster. So maybe drawing that left leg a little closer to parallel, check the hips, ground down through the outer edge of that right leg, firm up, ground down through the ball and heel of that front leg, squeeze into the center line, and then lifting the arms, choosing how you'd like to set those arms, lifting the gaze. One more inhale, upward energy, draw the right hip forward if it's moved back, bend in the knee if it has lengthened. And then exhale, plant the palms, step yourself back to your plank position, lower down chaturanga, inhale, rise into your back bend, and then exhale back into downward dog. And this is the downward dog where we take those 5 beautiful breaths during Surya Namaskar B, and you will want it when you're moving through the sequence at a faster pace. There is always an option as well, yogis, to, rather than spend the 5 breaths here in downward dog, to take a child's pose. So bringing the knees as wide as the mat, big toes together to touch and melting the heart forward. It's really important to take rest when the body calls for it. When you're practicing and learning these sun salutations, one of the things that fatigues quite easily is the wrists. So that's one thing to pay attention to. And if you've set yourself a goal of doing maybe 10 rounds of A and then 5 rounds of B, but you notice it's just your wrists that are needing a break, those 5 breaths in downward dog can become 5 breaths in child's pose. Take what you need for your wrists. So then after those 5 breaths, after the rest that you need, we'll look forward between the hands and again stepping or floating the feet forward to meet them, lifting up halfway. Exhaling, forward to Uttanasana forward fold. And then on the inhale, we come back to Utkatasana chair pose. So the hips sink. You'll see now why the grazing of the fingertips is quite nice for the first one, as it mirrors this one here. Tuck the tailbone under, weight is in the heels, strengthen the legs, and then exhale back to Samastiti. Find balance, stillness here. Got all that? All right, let's enjoy moving through these together and more quickly. 3 rounds of A, 2 rounds of B. Inhale, lift the arms, gaze to the thumbs. Exhale, Uttanasana forward fold. Inhale, find halfway lift. Exhale, float or step back to low plank. Inhale, find your back bend. Exhale, downward dog. 5 breaths here. Look forward between the hands, step or float the feet forward to meet them, lift halfway. Exhale, fully fold. Inhale, rise into your upward salute. Exhale, find Samastiti. Second round, inhale, arms lift, energy upward. Exhale, folding all the way forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, back to low plank. Inhale, rise into your back bend. Exhale, tuck the toes, tuck the hips back to your downward dog. 5 breaths here. Taking the feet forward to meet the hands in your preferred method, lifting halfway. Fully folding, exhale. Inhale to rise, upward salute. Exhale, Samastiti. Another round, inhale, arms lift, gaze lifts. Exhale, hinge at the hips, bend at the knees, fold forward. Inhale, lift halfway, long back. Exhale, take your feet behind you, find low plank. Inhale, come into your back bend. Exhale, tuck your toes, pike your hips, find your downward dog. 5 deep breaths here. Looking forward between the hands, Step or float the feet forward to meet them, lift halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise to standing, press the palms. Exhale, Samastiti. Surya Namaskar B, 2 rounds. Inhale, hips sink, arms lift, find chair pose. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step or float the feet behind you, find low plank. Inhale, find your back bend. Exhale, downward dog. Inhale, right foot forward, lift your arms, find warrior 1. Exhale, back to low plank. Inhale, find your back bend. Exhale, downward dog. Inhale, left foot forward, warrior 1. Exhale, low plank. Inhale, find your back bend. Exhale, downward dog. I told you you'd enjoy it. 5 breaths here. So remembering child's poses there if you need to take that option. Beautiful opportunity to notice the change in heart rate, the heat in the body, the shifts in energy that happen through this beautiful sequencing. After 5 breaths, looking forward between the hands, step or float the feet forward to meet them, lift halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, hips sink, arms lift, find your chair pose. Exhale, Samastiti. Second round, inhale, hips sink, arms lift, Utkatasana, chair pose. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, find your upward dog. Exhale, back to downward dog. Inhale, right leg forward, warrior 1. Exhale, low plank. Inhale, find your back bend. Exhale, downward dog. Inhale, left leg forward, warrior 1. Find the balance. Exhale, back to low plank. Inhale, find that back bend. Exhale, back to downward dog. 5 breaths here. It's important not to be hard on yourself when you're learning. I've been practicing this for years and I still find it really challenging. And there's still always a new place to go. You can go deeper. You can find that it reveals something to you that you've never noticed before. The beauty in the repetition of these movements. After those 5 breaths, we're looking forward between the hands, stepping, or maybe practicing that floating forward, lifting halfway. Exhale, fully fold. Inhale as we find strength in the quadriceps for our final Utkatasana, chair pose, and then pressing the palms, bringing them to your heart, Samastiti. And let's pause here with the thumbs pressing into the sternum, feeling the heartbeat, the shift in energy, being grateful for the body and what it's been able to do for you. Bowing your head to your hands. Namaste.